Both of these instruments are tenor trombones, but this one has an F attachment. An F attachment is an extra bit of tubing that essentially allows for the instrument to be played in two separate keys, in theory, although this is not exactly how we use it. The first main function of the F attachment is to allow for lower notes to be played. Without it, there's a large gap from low E down to pedal B flat. Before we can enter the pedal range of those same notes. With the F attachment, we're able to play most of the notes in between the low E and the pedal B flat. You'll notice that I had to skip the low B natural because we simply run out of tubing. The only way to play that low B natural with an F attachment is to pull that F attachment to E. This is almost never necessary for the tenor trombonist, but it does exist. In the pedal range, we're able to play the same notes down an octave. And we again end at a C. Most of these low notes aren't important for the tenor trombonist and are more important for the bass trombonist. Still, occasionally they have to be played. The second function of the F attachment is to allow for other slide position options that we otherwise wouldn't have access to. Essentially, the F attachment is the same amount of tubing as sixth position. This allows us to play sixth position notes in first position with the F attachment. In addition to the sixth position notes that we may choose to use the F attachment for, we can also use the F attachment in second position as a replacement for seventh position. It is important to remember that when using the trigger in second position, it's not a true second position like we've used before. It's actually a little bit further out. Many students, when they first get their trombone with an F attachment, use the F attachment for nearly everything that they can. This may not always be wise, as it sometimes creates more slide movement than necessary. A great example of this is from C to D flat. In most cases, I prefer to use sixth position C if I'm going to play a D flat right before or right after that note. This allows for me to play it quickly with ease and minimize the amount of movement of the slide. An added benefit of the F attachment is that it allows for students with shorter arms to have an alternative to playing those slide positions that might be just out of their reach. A question that constantly comes up is, when should a student switch to an instrument with an F attachment? Some band programs choose to start students with instruments with F attachments while others do not. Often this comes down to budgeting, as instruments with F attachments are generally more expensive than instruments without. Another question that often comes up is, do you need an instrument with an F attachment? While generally the answer is no, there are instances where it is very helpful or simply it is needed. While this stereotype is not always true, you'll often find professional orchestral players using instruments with a valve, but you'll also find many professional jazz players choose to play without a valve. Often you'll find that student model instruments don't have an F attachment and are in fact smaller in some dimensions. While you may see many professional trombonists using an instrument with an F attachment, it may not be the best choice for your students, as they are often larger and require more air to play. A smaller instrument often allows the student to get a better sound starting off, and it's easier to transition that sound into a larger instrument later. Again, the main difficulty of starting a student on an instrument without the valve is reaching the sixth and seventh positions. One trick that can help students reach these other positions is turning to the right. As you turn to the right, you're able to increase the length of slide that you're able to use. Still, for some students, this may not be enough to help them with these other positions. More than likely, you'll be able to see a picture of the instrument before purchasing, but in the product description, it'll often say trombone in B flat, or if it has an F attachment, trombone in B flat/F. Again, this goes back to the idea that the F attachment allows for the instrument to be played in 2 keys, although we often don't think of it in this way. If you liked this video or found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and click the bell, as well as visit my website for low brass tutorials and other educational resources.